To the distinguished panelists, moderators, participants, guests, colleagues, and all our viewers. I'm pleased to welcome you all to the Economic Summit on Post-COVID Investment, Trade and Development in India, presented by Tilotama Foundation. I'm Yukta Acharya, Executive to the Tilotama Foundation. Tilotama Foundation is an academic and cultural organization engaged principally in international relations, financial, strategic, and defense policy discussions. Stay connected with us on Facebook and Instagram. The unprecedented pandemic that has impacted our lives and livelihood is still raging. India is presently having the third highest COVID cases across the world. India is fighting strongly with the pandemic and the related economic repercussions. India's growth rates have been adversely impacted by this global crisis that has hit us locally as well. India is today a $3 trillion economy. India is resilient and we are hopeful that India will bounce back strongly. India has been helping a large number of countries across the world during this COVID-19 pandemic period. Several sectors of the Indian economy have been badly impacted due to the lockdown imposed for the pandemic. Many people have lost their employment. The government of India has announced several relief measures, but much more needs to be done. This conference has been conceived by Mr. Soham Das, Director to the Tilotama Foundation. I must also thank Dr. Anjan Chakraborty, Senior Advisor, Tilotama Foundation, for his sincere efforts. Our first panelist for this economic summit is titled, our first panel for this economic summit is titled Perspectives on Holistic Development in India, Significant Challenges and the Rural Scenario. We have four eminent speakers on this panel. Welcome Professor Santosh Mehrotra, Professor of Economics, Center for Informal Sector and Labor Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, who is also the former economist at the United Nations and former Director General, Institute of Applied Manpower Research for the Government of India. We welcome Dr. Aramendra Shahu, former Chief General Manager and Regional Director of the Reserve Bank of India, who is also a former consultant to World Bank. We welcome Professor Amitava Mukherjee, former head of UN Center for Poverty Alleviation and Senior Advisor for UN ESCAP, former Senior Advisor for NRLM, Ministry of Rural Development for the Government of India. We welcome Ambassador Gaurishankar Gupta, former Indian Ambassador to Mongolia, Hungary and Bosnia and Herzegovina, and former High Commission of India to Trinidad and Tobago, Commonwealth of Dominica, Grenada and Montserrat, who was also the former Indian Deputy Permanent Representative to the UNESCO. The session would be moderated by Dr. Anjan Chakraborty, Senior Advisor to the Tilotama Foundation and Associate Professor, UGC of Human Resource Development Center.
So now we are going to start the technical session, and as a first speaker, I would like to invite Ambassador Gaurishankar Gupta. Without losing much time, because already we have delayed by certain minutes, so I'll request Professor Gaurishankar Gupta to start his deliberation.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this very interesting debate this afternoon. I'm thankful to the Tilotama Foundation, all the office bearers and distinguished professors who are present today. I'm looking forward to educate myself with their views and also to present my views on this forum. I have prepared a small PowerPoint presentation, so I will share the screen. Kindly confirm to me that you are able to see it. Can you see the screen?
No, I can't.
No, sir.
Not yet. Not yet. Let me just go back. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's great. You see, technology helps in this. So first of all, I would like to congratulate Tilotoma Foundation for their vision, because this is a very difficult time for the global economy as well as for economy of India. And this vision that how we should overcome this problem is indeed praiseworthy. So I'm thankful to the foundation for organizing this summit this afternoon. Now, the topic which I'm supposed to speak is the perspective on holistic development in India, significant challenges and rural scenario. This is a very interesting topic, and I would like to, I like to go into the historic perspective when I start any presentation, because I believe that unless you take care of the roots of a tree, you cannot understand how the tree grew actually. So I'll start with a small graph, which is also included in one of my books called The Limits of Consumption. Now, if you look at Indian economy holistically, from the beginning of, the Christian era until 1720, India was the biggest contributor to the world economy. This is the estimate by Angus Madison. He is one of the great economists of US who has written a book on this subject. So India up to 1720 was the top contributor to the global economy, and our contribution was in the range of around 30%. Then China gradually came in, and then India and China will remain the two main contributors. But slowly, after Industrial Revolution, Europe started getting into the game, and they became the biggest contributor to the global economy by, say, middle of the 18th century. Then Indian economy came down. If you look at the graph 1950, that was the time around India's independence, our contribution to global economy came down to about 3%, which was very dismal compared to 30% in the past. So we have a great record of entrepreneurship. We have a great record that our people can do economically very well. India is a country of entrepreneurs, if you look at it, because even in our Shastras, earth is one of the important principles of life, that you must earn enough money to sustain yourself and to help others. And that is why India was known as what we call Sone ki Chidiya, the golden bird of that time. And this was precisely the region that India attracted invasions. Islamic invasions came in, Mughal rule came in. Nobody comes to a poor country. If you find wealth and if you find a lot of prosperity, people from all over the world come and they start invading you. And that is what started in the 11th century onwards in India. And then finally, the Columbus and Vasco da Gama, they were looking for India, and that led to India's colonization finally. Now that colonization was precisely the region of taking away the wealth from India. India was at height or peak of its economic wealth in 17th, 18th century. And then slowly we became, slowly we became poorer and poorer. Now there's a lady called Utsa Patnaik from Columbia University. She has presented an estimate that we lost approximately $45 trillion during the British colonization period. These figures are not important, but the fact is that the Indian contribution to the global GDP came down to 3% from 32% in 1950. Then after 47, India's independence, we had a lot of controls on the Indian economy. Pandit Nehru as well as Mrs. Gandhi followed socialistic pattern of society, and a lot of licenses and controls were introduced. And as a result, Indian economy grew only at a very slow rate of 2.5% to 3%. Actually, Professor Raj Krishnan said it was the Hindu rate of growth. And that is how we grew very slowly. Then when P.V. Narasimha Rao became the Prime Minister, he opened up the economy in 1991. And that is why the Indian economy started developing in 1991. So let us look at the current state of our economy. We are a economy of approximately $3 trillion today. But GDP, if you look at the purchasing power parity, then we are almost third in the world with 10.51 trillion US dollar. Our growth in the current years have been in the range of 6 to 7% per annum. And we have exports approximately 330 to 400 billion dollars depending upon fluctuation and the year. We have also been, attractive destination for FDIs. In 2018, we attracted 64.7 billion US dollar as FDIs. And our share in the world economy has gone up to 7.74% compared to approximately 3% in 47. So we are in a much better position today than we were, say, in 1947. Now, coronavirus, which of course we all know originated in China, it has created an unprecedented crisis to humanity. Actually, the human beings were forced to, imprison themselves for months. The global economy came to a complete halt all over, not only in India, but everywhere in the world. We know the impact. We have seen the airports full of aircrafts rather than human beings. Never seen such sights in the history of mankind. Animals coming on the roads all over the cities. The sights which we experienced during this crisis are unprecedented. Now, it also had a positive impact on environment because we could see the air becoming cleaner, the water bodies started recovering. So there was some positive side as well of this coronavirus. Now, I would like to briefly go into the challenges we face today. What are the major challenges? The first challenge I would put is the challenge of distributive justice or distributive injustice. 10% of the Indian population holds 77% of total national wealth. That is the statistics today. We have 119 billionaires in US dollar terms in 2018 compared to 9 in 2001. So you can see how the billionaires in dollar terms are increasing, which is a sign that disparity of income is going up. Now, approximately 73 million people live in extreme poverty. Extreme poverty means the people who do not get enough to eat. That is extreme poverty. And I believe approximately 150 million people live in poverty. I don't have authentic statistics on that, but this is my estimate somewhere around that. Now, health problems are on the rise. I have a very different view of the health. If you have more doctors and more hospitals, I presume that the more people are falling sick, so it's not a good sign. There was a time when I was a young child, we hardly had doctors and hospitals, and people were comparatively healthier. Though the lifespan was less, not because of lifespan, but because of infant mortality rate was very, very high. So the health problems are on the rise. We have a lot of heart problems, diabetic problems, asthmatic problems, the problems concerning orthopedic issues and bones and all that. Then we have environmental issues, which are very, very, very important. The degradation of soil. Approximately 33% of Indian soil is degraded in the last 50, 60 years. The water bodies are getting contaminated. We take the rivers, we take the lakes, we take even the ocean water, everything is getting contaminated. Air quality has gone down. There are piles of garbage, both the solid garbage and the liquid garbage all over the country. And another big problem is the crime, corruption, lack of justice and lawlessness. I consider this part of the holistic development, and therefore I think these are the major problems I can think of today. Now, what is the answer to these problems? The holistic approach to education, I consider, is one of the best answers to the problem. In my view, the education has 4 parts. One is the basic knowledge about history, culture, geography, languages, mathematics. That's the first part of the education. The second important part is the developing human quality, that is respect for others, humility, compassion, honesty, discipline, moderation in life. These I consider extremely important, which are missing today in our daily life everywhere in the country. Third, the person has to earn his livelihood and therefore he must have skills. Either he becomes a professional engineer or doctor, or he develops skills of carpentry, electrician, or other skills which we need in the society. That is a must. And then fourth is the health management. Health management is the question of education. I think a child in the school should be taught how to live in clean atmosphere, how to keep his surroundings clean, what kind of food he should eat, what kind of exercises he should do. eh. He should follow the sun cycle, which is the basis of our good health. We should have a healthy mind. We should not clutter our mind with all kinds of information and pictures which keep giving us a lot of health problems. So these are the four basic fundamentals of education. I have delivered a lot of talks in schools on these issues, and I give a lot of emphasis on these 4 points as part of good quality education. I think we need to address this issue in a very holistic way today. Now, in the olden days, if you look, the kings had only two basic requirements: security of the country and justice. These were the two basic requirements. The economy was left to the people, agriculture was left to the people, and other things were left to the people. Now the government has gone into many issues, but they are not able to meet the requirements of justice. Justice has become extremely difficult in our country. Cases continue for years and years. People are running, running with the what you call lawyers to the courts every other day. There's no justice available. We have corrupt practices everywhere in the country. You go to government offices, you can go to private offices, you can go to chambers. I have seen corruption everywhere in the country, in the society. It's not only the government, it's also in the private sector everywhere. Then criminals are having field day because there's a lot of collusion or collusion between criminals and the political parties, criminals and the economic, giants of the country. And therefore the timely justice, in my view, is extremely important. We have realized that the British system which we adopted for justice in country has completely failed. We need to reform this system. I still believe that we have to go the Indian way. The Indian way is to have local justice bodies, which we used to have in the ancient past. The system of 5 people sitting in the villages, resolving a lot of problems. Similarly, we need to have some elders in the society in different places, which can address a lot of issues locally without allowing them to the court. This is extremely important looking at the rise of criminality in the country, because criminality is a punishment for the poor. It is also a big hurdle for economic development. It is also a hurdle in good governance. Now, employment is very important. This is the third requirement of a holistic economic development of a country. People must have, we have entrepreneurial skills, and no doubt about it. Indians have done extremely well wherever they have gone. I have seen Indians in US, I have seen in Europe, I have seen in the Gulf countries. All the Indian people who have gone there, they are one of the richest because they have done extremely well with their entrepreneurial abilities. Now that is what our systems in the country are not good to make use of their entrepreneurial skills. Therefore, we have to minimize the paperwork and controls. We have to start trusting these people and their good faith in the nation. We have to have agriculture, the so-called minimum prices for agricultural products are not good enough. We have to give them higher remunerative prices. The farmers are committing suicide around the country. They are passing through very difficult time. We have to give them higher prices. We have to promote agricultural exports. And then we have to have a lot of small and medium industries, because we are a country of large population. We cannot afford to have very large automated industries which the West is having, because they don't have that kind of population. We have to keep our population employed. For that, we need smaller and medium enterprises which can employ more people. And the current campaign of using national product must be promoted. It does not mean that we are isolating ourselves from the world, no, but we should try and use our products more and reduce our dependence on imports. That is very, very important. Then I believe that we can do extremely well in the field of knowledge industry, that is IT, education, medical. We have tremendous manpower in these areas. We can do extremely well. We can also do very well in electronics, pharma, engineering, hospital industry. These are some of the areas where we have what we call a dedicated and talented manpower, and therefore we should concentrate on these industries much more than the rest of it. I think we have to specialize on some areas where we can do very well. Textile industry is also one of them. I would add that, because textile has been one of our ancient industry. So is the handicrafts, one of the industries which has given name and fame to India all over the world. So I think we need to concentrate on these industries from the employment point of view, from the point of view of our skills. Then fourth is distributive justice, that we discussed, that the disparity has increased so much. We have to have good, remunerative wages for the labor, both in the agriculture and in the industry. We have to give them proper social security. It has increased a bit, but it's not enough yet. We have seen how the migrant workers were suffering during this period, how they were not able to get even enough to eat. They could not find transport to travel. We have seen farmers, how they are committing suicides. I think we need to have a social security network which takes care of this kind of contingencies in the society. And we must put a curb, whether it is direct, legal, or indirect, on the vulgar display of wealth. I have seen Indians doing marriages, spending billions of rupees, millions of dollars. Somebody doing in Italy, somebody doing in Spain, somebody doing. I think we must put a complete ban on that. All this should be done in India and should be done in an atmosphere which is actually in consonance with the social needs. Because this kind of vulgar display of wealth only promotes more concentration of wealth. It only promotes more corruption. People try to become wealthy by whatever means they can, and that is not good for our society. We must put a complete ban on this. No big marriages should be allowed anywhere outside the country. It only takes our wealth away. It only distorts the society in India. And in India too, instead of doing these vulgar display of wealth, why don't they give it to the poor people? I think there should be a new tendency that we should give facilities to the poorer section of the society rather than doing this vulgar display. And the last point I would like to mention is sustainable development. We know that environment is the biggest issue today. I would like to say that I have written this book called Limits of Consumption. It was published in UK in 2018. This is based on environmental degradation and the relevance of ancient Indian wisdom. Now, during the course of writing this book, I did a lot of research and I realized that we are, completely in disharmony with nature. Firstly, we must realize that nature is the source of our life. Whatever we eat today, the food, the water, the air we breathe in, the place where we live in, the habitation, the clothing we put on, everything comes from nature. And nature sustains our life. So how can we exploit nature? The exploitation of nature is a misnomer. It should be removed from the dictionaries. We should say respect for nature should come in that place. We cannot afford to convert this wonderful earth into a heap of garbage. it has become a container of garbage. You can see everywhere in our country there's garbage and garbage. This is what we have done to the nature. We have to stop it. 33% of Indian soil, it takes hundreds of years to have a fertile soil, because the process of having good soil is a very complicated one. 33% has been degraded. Water rivers are like, flowing as what we call chemical channels. There are no more rivers. We have seen air contamination, which has been one of the highest in the world. We have also seen these greenhouse gases emissions increasing everywhere. So I think we have to balance this with our development. These are basic requirements. Unless we address them, our development would have no meaning. And for that, moderation in consumption is the basic requirement. Buddha said that if you have a musical instrument called veena, if you put the strings too hard, then they will break. If you leave them very loose, there would be no musical sound. And therefore, we have to have moderation in consumption, which means that we meet the basic requirements of the humanity. At the same time, we don't have the vulgar display of wealth anywhere. That is very, very important. Mahatma Gandhi also said that there is enough for everybody's need, but not enough for everybody's greed. And that is where we have to address our issues. Now, this is a gross national happiness concept, which originated in Bhutan, and I fully support this concept. This has also been adopted by the United Nations General Assembly, and I believe that the so-called per capita income and GDP, that is gross national product, is not the only indication. In fact, the indication of national happiness is also how the human beings feel, how the nature has been protected, the lesser amount of illness, less mental distress. All these has to come into play, and that is possible only if we can address issues like education, we can address issues like criminality, justice, we can address the problem of unemployment, and the distributive injustice. I think these are the issues if we want to address the holistic approach, or we want to adopt the holistic approach to development. And the post-COVID period provides an extremely opportune time for this, because this is the new beginning. We have also realized during the COVID period that environment can renovate itself, provided we give them some time. So this is the new beginning, and the new beginning can be done with new standards, new methodologies, and new vision. And that is what I would suggest, that we should adopt our national policies on these 5-6 parameters in a very transformative way to address the problems of modern era in India. Thank you very much. I'm grateful to all of you for your patience hearing and for inviting me to participate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your erudite exposition, and right from our ancient history to the present crisis, you have really presented a holistic view, and the issues which generally been put under the carpet, especially the distributive justice, the increasing inequality during the reform period, which is running for almost more than 30 years, and the plight of the society, and the major concern that you put forward, especially the way the environment has been degraded. So we are really thankful to you for such a holistic view, and you have given a certain kind of roadmap that how we can change the trajectory of the economy, not only economy of our country, but at the same time, how we can change the trajectory of the Indian populace altogether. So thank you very much. And at the end of this particular session, we'll take up your question.